Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held at 6 p.m. on July 11th, 2023. We
I apologize, Your Worship, but we could not hear you properly at the specified place.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held at 6:01 p.m. on July 11th, 2023. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of Yakit-Atmakliat. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakit-Atmakliat and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I'll call the meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted by in-person and electronic means in accordance with Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. And I'll ask for a mover and seconder for the following staff recommendation: that if the communication link to the specified place of this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time the quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Mover? Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. I will next ask for a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda and late items, and we do have one late item. With the acceptance of late item number 10.3, correspondence from the Fernie Trails Alliance, as the item arrived after the date for submission in section 3.8.2 of the Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. Mover, please. Councillor Nixon. Seconder, Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Any previous minutes, so I will now open the meeting and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. Any speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Rhodes and ask if there's anyone in attendance at the specified place or online who wishes to speak.
No, Your Worship, no one wishing to speak in person or online. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. That brings us to item 9.1, a report from the Manager of Planning, Mr. Simolini, and this is in reference to DBP 551.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to everyone. So tonight we're looking at development variance permit application number 551 for 15 Cedar Bowl Crescent. The ask here is to vary the zoning bylaw for the, actually it's R1B zone, not R1 zone, from maximum building height for an accessory building from 5.0 meters to 6.04 meters, so an increase of 1.04 meters over the allowable height. In this case, the land has a little bit of a hill on it, where the actual peak of the building itself isn't any more than 5 meters from the finished grade on one side. So it's a case where the peak of the roof actually isn't going up, it's the ground that's going down that increases the overall height in the way that we measure it. So our rationale for recommending approval tonight is that, as I noted, the height is calculated from the average finished grade from peak of the roof down, and on 2.5 elevations or 2 elevations, we see a more exposure of the wall than we would normally see that if the grade were flat. The proposed development is within the setbacks of a single-family home in this case. If the garage were attached to the single-family home, the height of the structure could be up to 10 meters without needing a variance. In this case, because it's detached, the maximum height of an accessory building being detached is only 5 meters, so they're asking for the variance to go over. And also here noted that the side yard setbacks for the south neighbor, which would probably be the most affected neighbor, they do conform to the zoning bylaw, 1.53 meters on the front side and 5.70 on the back side of the building. So our recommendation tonight is that council approve development variance permit application number 551. Thank you, Worship.
Thanks, Mr. Simley. Any questions? Councillor Schuster.
I understand there has been no neighbors up in arms about this or anything like that. Am I correct?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Shoesmith, at this point we haven't had any correspondence from the neighborhood. However, there still is the public notice period that needs to happen. So public notice will go out. The item will come back to the August 8th meeting, I believe. So if we do receive any public input, council will be given a review of it at that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor.
You can go first if you.
Oh, thank you. And I apologize to Mr. Simulini because I asked this question in the office, but I just, for this council's sake, were we to look at this building from the street, as you sort of indicated, it will, the height of the building from the driveway will be effectively conform to the 5-meter height limit.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll share my screen again and bring it up so we can have a quick look at it. So the east elevation is one facing the street, so you see that where my cursor is there. So it does have a slight drop on the hillside, so that the street side is I guess, sort of 50-50, so to speak. Again, it's following the natural grade of the land. Where we see an even 5-meter height difference is on the north side of the building, where the garage is approached from this. I guess it's one of those sort of curved driveways where you approach from the side of the garage rather than the front. And then the other elevations are the south side, where there's almost full exposure, not quite full exposure, of the sort of 2 stories, and then the west side, which is similar to the opposite east side.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Ramdas.
Thank you, Worship. I was just wondering, like, just from my own understanding, like, what's the threshold to go from a minor variance to a DVP?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramdas, great question. The threshold is 10% over height, so anything that is 10% over 5 meters would be permitted. So in this case, 0.5 meters added onto that height. So 5.5 meters would be considered a minor variance, which would be delegated to staff. In this case, we did talk to the applicant to see if we could get it to that point where it was a minor variance, and they just weren't able to get it there with the way that the ground was and the way that they wanted to build the building. So they decided to move forward with the council process.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? I'll ask Mr. McConnell to read the recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. The staff recommendation is that council approve development variance permit application number DVPA 551 and give notice of their intention to consider the issuance of development variance permit number DVP 551 for 13 Cedar Bowl Crescent.
Councillor McConnell, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any other discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Brings us to item 9.2, the 2023 Summer Shuttle Service Agreement, a report from our CAO, Mr. Baranowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report is provided for Council's consideration, and we are recommending that Council approve a partnering agreement with Tunnel 49 Adventures Incorporated for the provision of a summer shuttle service, and the Mayor and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute the agreement. The partnering agreement is attached to the report. It is very similar to the partnering agreement that has been executed starting last winter with Resorts of the Canadian Rockies for the winter shuttle, in that it places the responsibility for maintenance and operation, as well as any expenses and the potential for revenues firmly in the hands of the operator. The city will be reimbursed for the costs of insurance related to the shuttles. However, it will be operated on the national safety code of the operator, this being Tunnel 49, should council approve it, thereby protecting our insurance and our ability to operate the fleet if there are any incidents. This was an initiative brought forward by Tourism Fernie. I'd like to recognize the Tourism Fernie Society. They brought the initiative to operate a summer shuttle service forward to the city of Fernie. Staff worked on a number of potential reviews of different shapes of the partnering agreement, including multiple partner agreements. The most expedient way to get from where we were to operating this as a pilot this year was to partner directly with Tunnel 49 Adventures. They then will work directly with Tourism Fernie on managing and reviewing the operations, on the complimentary service for accommodators, as they did in the winter, and then we will be receiving reporting at the end of the year. We have preemptively done an inspection of the vehicles to mark any damage. There's only one minor scuff or one minor ding by a front wheel from the winter service that can be addressed, and staff are recommending approval. We did last week initiate public notice because there is a requirement for 2 concurrent weeks of public notification. So we used the Fernie Fix and their newsletter as the initial publication for public notice. The notification will again be republished in the Free Press to ensure that the 2 consecutive weeks are met should council choose to advance the partnering. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bronowski. Any questions? Councilor Nixon?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just curious, I mean, I love the idea of the shuttle and connectivity of downtown on the ski hill and stuff like that. Just as one of the terms of the condition here under profit or loss, it says that full reporting and reconciliation of use beyond summer shuttle service, maintenance and service records as per Schedule B, blah, blah, blah. I'm just wondering if we have received that from RCR.
No, we have not from RCR to this point, Your Worship. Their staff who should be providing that report are working part-time and remotely, and we're waiting for them to come back, and we will be seeking that report as well as confirmation of some maintenance that we need. There's some record keeping that we have to tidy up with the last operator.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Schussman.
Through your worship to staff, perhaps I missed it, or it's under maintenance, but are we receiving money for the lifetime replacement of these vehicles?
We are not, Your Worship to Council, we are not receiving money for the lifetime replacement for their basic use as a shuttle. So there's not an hourly or a per kilometer rate for activity within the shuttle service. However, the operator would be responsible for maintenance as per the manufacturer and warranty specifications, so the servicing and regular maintenance and any warranty or recall repairs that need to happen, making sure those are done. And then any use above and beyond, there is a per kilometer fee. So anything beyond the shuttle service schedule, if the buses are to be used as like a private shuttle booking for an event or something, then those are charged out so that we're not providing an above and beyond benefit to that operator.
Thank you, Mr. Bronowski.
No more questions.
Yeah,
no, thank you, Your Worship. So I'm just curious about the RCR contract as well. Is that for a multi-year, or was that just for a few years, just last year?
Your Worship, through the Council, it was a 1 year under the new operating agreement as Tourism Fernie invested significant funds to provide it as a free service to the accommodators that are Tourism Fernie members. I do anticipate they want to see that continue or expand, but the discussions will have to happen between Tourism Fernie and operators in the city to figure out what a longer term agreement looks like.
Okay. And just a few more. And maybe I missed it in here somewhere, but is the operator obligated to continue service even if there's minimal ridership? I mean, are we handcuffing them to this schedule if they start to lose money? I'm just just looking at the numbers of people up this hill and thinking about the wintertime, seeing the number of people that use it, and we don't know what that number is last year, I just wouldn't want to see somebody in town lose a lot of money on this, that's all.
Your worship, council, it's a really good comment. The agreement provides, and our understanding with both Tourism Fernie and Tunnel 49 is that schedule needs to be monitored and amended from time to time so that we ensure it's providing a valuable service for the visitors and locals alike, and is not causing undue hardship on Tourism 49 and the operator. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it was wise accordingly, because that was one of my questions, that we've attached their transit schedule, if you will, the shuttle schedule as a schedule to the agreement, such that that can be amended without opening up the agreement to the. Yeah. Good. Did you have more? Councilor?
No, I mean, just one last comment. I think it would be fantastic if it went all the way to Oakford and Sparwood.
Right, yeah, we'll see on that for sure.
That's just one comment.
Councilor Kelly.
Your worship, through to staff. Just further to Councilor Schuss's comment about the replacement, do we have a mechanism with RMI funds for replacement of those vehicles?
Your worship, to council, previously we were allowed to put away some of the infrastructure and capital funding, which were used to purchase these and had been used to create a reserve. We are no longer allowed to use RMI funds to contribute to a reserve for the replacement of the buses. So in their year of replacement, if we are going to, at that time, procure new buses to replace these or pursue an alternative route, we would have to dedicate a more significant amount of that year's allocation. So we can't use our resort municipality initiative funding to fund a reserve for future use. The funds must be used within 1 year after each 3-year cycle agreement.
And then just a follow-up question. Did I read, or I think I did, that RMI is now provincially budgeted for and not as arbitrary as it had been?
Your worship, to council, you're correct. Originally, the RMI program was based on HST, which you may remember existed for a little while in BC, and then tied in terms of how much or how little was allocated based on your growth in hotel stays on MRDT or hotel tax. Now it is funded in 3-year cycles through the Ministry of Tourism, so there's base funding, and then a performance lift based on our growth or stability of MRDT, so the hotel tax, and OAP, which is the online accommodator, or Airbnb and VRBO tax on those accommodations. So it's separate from the funding stream and tools that fund tourism itself, tourism, the destination BC, Tourism Fernie, being MRDT for marketing, but our performance bonus is tied to, are we driving increases in overnight stays?
Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you, Worship. I was okay with this until I heard Councilor Nixon's question in your comment, and now I feel like I need to ask it. In the section with regards to the breach of agreements by Tunnel 49, there is the comments with regards to in the event of material breaches of any terms of this agreement and so on. Does failure to uphold the schedule constitute a material breach? And that might be a question for a lawyer as opposed to staff, but.
In our communications, delivering on the schedule as agreed or changing it without mutual agreement or just not delivering it, we would work to provide the service before moving to a breach and enforcing the terms.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? It does occur to me to ask Mr. Barnowski, and maybe it's unfair in this forum, but given that we can't use RMI funds to fund a reserve to potentially replace the buses at such time as they need to, is there an opportunity to work with an organization like Tourism Fernie so that we're not collectively, whether it's through OAP or MRDT, to build out a fund at the point of replacement so that we're not creating vulnerability, so we lose the service, as it were.
Your worship, to council, I think there's a really good opportunity. I think specifically, as we've seen Tourism Fernie do excellent work on destination marketing and now begin to move into destination management and look at initiatives that are reinvesting in the destination itself. And as they are moving towards strategic planning for their next cycle, there's likely a very good opportunity to work collaboratively with Tourism Fernie on that, and with the sector more broadly on how are we going to fund types of purchases like this in the future. Because it's not part of our formal fleet program where we're contributing based on usage to a reserve. But as you say, we could find or establish a funding source to create a small reserve or a growing reserve over time and reduce the demand on that year's RMI contribution when they did come to the point of needing repair or replacement.
Yeah, excellent. I think those sorts of creative solutions reduce it and save the vulnerabilities to the entire community. So thank you for that. Councilor Ramdas.
Thank you, Worship. Was wondering, is there opportunity to transfer ownership of these assets to, say, Tourism Fernie in the future too? Does RMI obligate us to have ownership forever?
Your Worship, there's nothing tying us to not disposing of our interests through a lease. Or if we were going to dispose of these, we would be running them through our public disposition policy. I think that would be an auction, likely not a very positive outcome for the taxpayer or for the city in terms of return on the investment.
Right.
But a lease or a multi-year lease to an organization like a Tourism Fernie, absolutely possible, absolutely appropriate if all the parties agree that after these pilots, there's an ongoing willingness to partner on a service like this, yes. I have been working, I'd like to add, with colleagues in BC and Alberta, looking at their P3 partnerships for shuttles that are outside of public transit, because this is distinct from the BC Transit model. Some municipalities and regions in BC do have similar services operated through their BC Transit system. Getting to that is a long-term transition, and it involves everything from understanding where our bus maintenance garages is, where the buses have to overnight. This is a more nimble service that we can manage and change, but other partnerships seem to be stable and involve leases like that, and involve multiple partners. I will be looking at the Lake Louise and Parks Canada partnership on transit, which is similar to what we do, but with different players and different agreements as well.
Thank you. Further?
Your Worship, just a thought. It's not a ask or anything. I'm just wondering, this is good. Is there ways to de-risk even further, and what's the value addition that the city of Fernie is providing in this service? That's the question I'm kind of pondering.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think, as Mr. Boronowski has indicated, these are pilots, so we will move likely toward a different model. Likely not significantly different, but governed by comprehensive agreements, and it may be ownership does eventually transfer to another party, but those are things to explore for sure. Because to your point about de-risking it from the city's perspective. Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to provide some history, when I first sat in this chair, this shuttle was it was all on the backs of the taxpayer. So profit, like any profit, any loss, anything. So kudos to Mr. Boronowski and Tourism Fernie for creating this new model, which works really well. So,
thank you. Boronowski.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. To Councilor Ramdas and Councilor Nixon's comments, Tourism Fernie has done a lot of heavy lifting, and I've looked at their funds that have grown very healthily over time because of our rebound in tourism. In other jurisdictions, what looks preferable at this juncture to me in the long term is to move to a partnership agreement where there is an operator, there is a resort, there's a DMO, and the city is providing funding for the service. The challenge there is that we have a smaller pool of RMI funding for a service than we do for the capital investment, but RMI may change, and the rules there may change. So there's still a lot at play, but thank you for the compliment, and I think the DMO deserves a lot of that.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilor Schuster.
Further to what Councilor Nixon just said there, it's good to hear that it's moving off of the taxpayer's back, because to me it sort of seems non-core. If I were a City of Fernie taxpayer, I mean, for the most part, a lot of people are just keeping the lights on, and it's death by 1,000 cuts with all of the millions of things we seem to take on, so I am concerned with us doing everything for everybody all the time at the expense of people who are already overloaded. So it is good to hear that it's moving away from that funding stream into sort of agreement, so thank you.
Anything else? I'll ask Mr. McCall to read the recommendation.
Sure, the staff recommendation is that council approve the partnering agreement with Tunnel 49 Adventures, Inc. for the provision of a summer shuttle service, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement.
Moved by Councilor McIsaac, seconded by Councilor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Which brings us to correspondence, and there are two asks in our correspondence. The first one is the placement of a peace pole by Fernie Rotary Club. And it's Councilor.
As a member of Rotary, I recuse myself from that discussion.
Okay, thank you. And Director Logan, I could see you on the screen. Is he still with us? I understand he's, oh, there you are. Sorry. Yeah, I understand you're familiar with this request and
Sure, Your Worship. I was approached by the Rotary Club a few weeks back with more or less the same letter that's in the council package. The request is to install a peace pole in the Miners Walk in the center flower bed in front of City Hall. I'm in support of the request of council and can work with Rotary for the installation if the council desires.
Thank you. Councilman Isaac.
Thank you, Worship. I'm curious if Mr. Logan had any conversations about alternate locations. Like, I am curious if the Rotary Club is interested in having the peace pole in Rotary Park.
It did occur to me to ask that same question. Mr. Logan?
There wasn't much discussion on alternative locations. This was the original one proposed. I think the idea is that it is in the center of the community and a focal point. And I'm not sure it would have the same exposure in Rotary Park or have the same message that the Rotary's hoping for.
I appreciate that perspective, Mr. Logan, because I think that's right. I think they want this. They wanted the city to transmit their approval of this sentiment, if you will. With Rotary Park, it becomes another Rotary thing, is my suspicion.
Yeah, just for clarification, Your Worship, I'm not adverse to having it on.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. No, I think it's a fair question. It did occur to me to ask the same one, so I'm grateful you asked. Any other questions or comments?
I have a resolution based on their recommendation.
Oh, excellent.
I got lucky. So the resolution that would be recommended by this is accept the peace pole gift from the Rotary Club for installation in the Miners Walk main flower bed.
Mr. Singalini, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just note that the City of Fernie City Hall is a heritage property, and as such, we should probably review what the peace pole is going to look like and how it might affect the heritage value of the property.
Well, thank you for that. There is an image of it in the package. And would we share that with your department, presumably?
Yeah, I'll have to have a look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I could make a suggestion for, so we don't have to bring it back as a council amendment, accept the peace pole gift from the Rotary Club for installation in the Miners Walk main flower bed if appropriate, or relocated if not.
That feels like it works.
Giving staff the opportunity to identify if for some reason it doesn't meet the heritage designation.
Can I have a move? Councilor Schuster, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Somebody poke their head out and,
So there was Councilor Nixon and Councilor Schuster.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there was the request of a letter of support from the Fernie Trails Alliance for a grant application between themselves and the Coal Creek Heritage Society to effectively loop the Coal Creek Heritage Trail, which I think would be a great amenity personally, but any discussion on that item?
I think it would be great too, I think it'd be fantastic.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you have a resolution?
Simple resolution be to provide a letter of support as, in the form, yeah, and as requested by the Fernie Trails Alliance.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? Councillor Gadsden.
Thank you, Worship. Just one, I guess, question, and that is, I noticed that in the discussion about where all the trail updates will go, one of the mentions was, looks like an upgrade to the spur trail to the Ammonite. And I'm just wondering if we're going to create greater opportunity for visitation to that, if there will be any consideration given to a greater degree of protection for that particular, is fossil the right word?
Fossil is the word.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah, and I know it certainly has been receiving a lot more visits over the last few years than it did in, historically. So it might not, certainly the responsibility of that is not necessarily on this group for sure. But while we're considering providing greater access, it might be worth considering providing greater protection.
Understood, yeah. Duly noted.
And that might be some feedback we can give to them, and perhaps we can find a way forward to.
Yeah, and as I understand it, the Ammonite itself is on private land, although I'm sure it has certain heritage designations that would protect it, but it likely needs additional protection, as you suggest. That is absolutely true. So we will provide that feedback. We have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And now we move on to item 11, reports from council members, and we'll start with Councilor Ravenel.
Thank you, Worship. I haven't prepared anything, but.
Moving on.
Well, excellent Canada Day, Canada Together celebration on July the 1st. Totally enjoyed your speech there. It was really uplifting, and it was great. It resonated with myself and my family there. The whole event was well organized, well attended, and well organized too later on. There was a little bit of a hiccup in the beginning that hopefully we can get through next year with some kind of preparation and trial run before that. Doing AV in the background is probably one skill set I'm getting after becoming a politician. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Allen.
I have nothing to report. I've been away back visiting family in Saskatchewan for the last 10 days.
So welcome back. Councilor Schuster.
I got a couple things to report, aside from everything just being awesome as usual. I'd like to point out that after the storm the other day, the public works trucks were out right away in a really timely manner, clearing all the drains and stuff, and they look like they were putting a pretty good hustle on, so kudos to those guys. And I missed Canada Day. However, I was becoming a dad on Canada Day, so.
What?
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Elizabeth Shoesmith, born Canada Day, 1 a.m. Well done.
Yeah,
Fernie's newest and oldest resident.
wonderful. Councilor Nixon?
Thank you, Worship. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. As a dad of 3, I don't have any girls, so I just have boys, so way to go. It's the best thing I've done. Just a few things. So I came in and I paid my taxes, and I was at the front, and the staff was doing a fantastic job, but I did notice that we only have one debit machine, which seemed to be tying things up quite a bit. I paid by check, and believe it or not, I still have some checks, right? But I paid by check, but I think, second debit machine wouldn't be that hard to get. Also, if you have a mortgage like I do, the taxes are included in your bank mortgage.
Probably, not necessarily.
Can be.
Yeah.
So I've never really looked into it, never really thought about it too much. So I went to the front and they said, we don't get that money from the bank until the day after, until July 4th. Correct.
Which is the due date.
Yeah, which is the due date. However, the bank is keeping all that money. So the bank has all the money and they get to use the money, right? Not me. Not the city of Fernie, the bank has to keep it. So I'm changing that arrangement so that it's going to be a monthly, I'm being told by the staff at the front to do a monthly payment for the taxes instead of being a part of the mortgage. So I encourage other people to do that too if they have mortgages. It only makes sense. I also want to say Canada Together was fantastic. Kudos to Mayor Milligan and Sufin for their excellent speeches, both here and at the Aquatic Center. And the only feedback that I've received in regards to the Aquatic Center was we need to plant about 100 more trees.
Yeah.
It was really hot, and I think that really sort of stifled our attendance levels, you could say. So that's about it.
Thank you. Councilor Audio Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. I actually have a few things. I attended a lovely retirement celebration for Mrs. Mary Gravel, a longtime member of the Elk Valley legal community and a born and raised Fernie girl named Marion Elbow. Her father-in-law was the leader of the nation who smoked a pipe in a purse lifting ceremony with Mary James White, and that pipe hangs on her living room wall. And she is very well connected, very well lovely in Fernie, very well known, and of course in Grassmere as well. So that was wonderful, and I wish her the very best in her retirement, and I said to her, it's about time, Marion. Also attended the gallery opening of the artist Lisa Dorotosh. Her art is beautiful, and I really encourage folks to go to the museum and see it. She's just done an amazing job. There were some excellent speeches, some sharing of Métis culture, a visit with her brother, who's a professor at U of A. That was wonderful. And very enjoyable, and there will be some interactive things happening over the summer that people can do. I also wanted to remind about the Arthur Sandusky Memorial Tennis Tournament coming up, and wish goodbyes to Father David, who is going to a new parish, and to Dr. and Mrs. Nally. And I want to say thank you to my long-term cupcake deliverer, Harsh and I, on Canada Day, and Councillor Nixon as well. That was very enjoyable, and staff did do a lovely job, and Mayor Milligan and Yasukin gave excellent and very inspiring speeches, so thank you.
That's very kind, thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Not very much to report, other than it was delightful witnessing Councillor Nixon discover that banks are good at making money. That was new to me as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend Canada Day. I had a nagging cough and in the new normal, you don't wander around crowds of people coughing, so I stayed away. But I did receive one piece of feedback, that was also with regards to the temperature on the pavement at the Aquatic Center, and a suggestion from the public that perhaps returning to City Hall and the treed and grass-covered area might be something to consider in the future. So that was it.
Thank you, and actually on that note, I had a conversation with staff after, with Jackie afterwards, and that was one of our considerations, was moving back to City Hall. Not least of all because the market was so small there, it wasn't really a draw to keep people on site. So yeah, some learnings from Canada's celebrations. Councilor.
I should have asked this, so my apologies in my council reports, but I didn't dawn on me just now. Watching a number of the Canada Day celebrations, 4th of July celebrations, all these other celebrations from elsewhere in the world that have happened in the last 10 days, I was noticing a lot of them had drone light shows in lieu of fireworks. And curious if that is something that we have put any thought into at all.
I can't speak to that personally, but Mr. Rowanowski, is that?
I have put no thought to it whatsoever. However, our Parks Rec staff organized Canada together, and I can find out and get a note to council.
Yeah. Thank you. I know Sparwood used drones, apparently it was quite effective.
Some gluten-free cupcakes would also be lovely for next year.
Awesome. Yeah, and if there's that level of feedback, please send them on to Jackie. She'd be delighted to receive.
Yes, she was awesome.
So from my perspective, thank you for the feedback on Canada Together. It was it was an inspiring day. And I enjoyed very much the reconciliation walk and the participation of the academic lead and the Susan Gravel. I wish her all the luck. She's up for election on July 24th, so she was excited, shall we say, about what's coming. This week, the Trans Rockies Single Track 6, Trans Rockies itself, returns to Fernie for its 20th year. Kicks off on Wednesday, 12th. One item I wanted to ask input from council on, I don't have a copy for review, but I've been in conversation with Tourism Fernie. And we've been talking about, as you'll recall, this year was meant to be the year for the Northwest Regional Mine Rescue Competition to come to Fernie. We had some conversations with them. They are going to reform their process and form a society such that they will look after much more of the planning and arrangements that than they have done in the past. In my conversation with Tourism Fernie, we'd very much like them to still come to Fernie in 2025, so 2 years out, because they come at a time when locally hotels and restaurants are quite slow, and it's a great event. It attracts a number of visitors for that week. And we're asked council's support for a joint letter from the city of Fernie inviting them back under their new structure. I don't know, do I need a resolution for that, or? It's all right.
Are we gonna know what the new structure and all that's gonna look like before we do that?
Probably not. We'd like to get the letter out to them such that it's clear to them that the region supports Mine Rescue's participation here, and then they will advance the whole new structure.
I'd be happy to make the motion to support a letter of support. I think we need to really recall that mining is part of our roots here and part of our history, and it's really wonderful. Safety is really important, and those folks are top notch.
I can second that.
if I may make a recommendation to that, I would suggest that, depending on the timeline of that, if we're able to create a document that we can add to the agenda for next week, so council can see what
Sure.
letter they're actually supporting.
Yeah, I felt we created it, and I was lax in not getting it in front of council.
So if you've got it, then we will add it on to the agenda for next week's special meeting for council consideration.
Thank you.
If that works. We do have a mover and seconder on that, so I would suggest that we table that particular motion, and because we do have a mover and seconder,
Okay.
during that, so.
Consider the table. Thank you. Good, thank you. On that note, we'll move on to item 12 and 12.1, that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 90 sub 1 sub L of the community charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual report under section 98 annual municipal report. Can I have a mover? Councillor Shoesmith. Seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. We will now move in camera and take 10 minutes.